licensing and occupations. This is meeting number 1. Can I have the secretary please call the roll?
Senator Chambers Armstrong. Here. Senator Berg. Here. Senator Douglas.
Present.
Senator Higdon. Senator Howe. Senator Mays Bledsoe. Senator McDaniel.
Here.
Senator Meredith.
Present.
Senator Nemus.
Present.
Senator Nunn.
Here.
Chair Rocky Adams.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum and we are duly constituted to do business today. The first thing I want to kind of say to the committee is I'm very excited. This is my very first meeting as chairman. We're going to do things a little bit differently than I think the former chairman Schickel did them. First of all, I'm not going to have an egg timer, and we will try to get as much information gleaned as humanly possible during these committees. We probably also, I'm going to deviate from the mandate that everything has to be Schickelized in the interim. Sometimes policy doesn't conform to our timelines, and so I just wanted to make a public announcement that whereas that's a great standard to hold, that we have to vet everything through the interim, it is not a requirement going forward. The other thing, too, is I know that there have been a lot of questions about how we're going to handle amendments. I will tell you that the House Chairman Cook and I have had very fruitful conversations. We will work together as a team to determine if amendments are in order or out of order as we move forward. So it's kind of a new day. Let's have fun with this committee. We have a lot of important things that we need to get done this session, and I look forward to working to make positive policy changes. So with that having been said, we have one bill on our agenda for today. That is Senate Bill 23, sponsored by Senator Stephen West. I see your bright and shining smiley face at the table. Please introduce yourself for the record and proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve West, 27th Senate District. Thank you for the opportunity to present Senate Bill 23 today. We really appreciate it. I don't know if this will go hand in hand with your goal of making the committee more fun. It's a bill dealing with administrative regulations, and there's only so much you can do there. Senate Bill 23 is fairly simple. It does two main things, okay? It allows our committee, the Administrative Regs Committee, to do a preliminary review of regulations that are not enacted or emergency regulations. So these are ordinary regulations. They're in the administrative process. They're in the public comment period. They're coming up towards a vote or to reach the committee. But it allows the committee, the chairman of the committee, to request the cabinet to present in front of the committee what the regulations are and what they do. And we've run into some problems in the past on these issues. It's just another level of transparency and helps the committee do its work. The second part of the bill requires the cabinet to cooperate on administrative regs when they present. In other words, it forces them to appear, provide requested information, and most importantly, if you're going to show up and represent the cabinet, you have to have the power and ability to defer or respond to a deficiency. And so we've had this come up in the committee where we will, as the chairperson or the committee, anyone in the committee can do this, request the committee to defer, and that person has not been given the power to defer. And so it really slows up the process. It really shouldn't be happening. So those are the two main things that it does. It's just more transparency sooner in the process. As a final note, before we get into questions, I will say on the way in this morning that the administration reached out to me and they are requesting some notice. If we pull you in front of the committee, give us some notice before we have to do that. They've requested 5 days. I've agreed to discuss that with them and work through that with them And if we do anything, we can do that with a floor amendment. So, but I am in process on that issue, and I'm free to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. I will tell you that I think this is an extremely important bill, and I'm so glad that we're tackling this on our first meeting because, as you know, we could pass all the statutes we want, but really where the rubber meets the road is in this regulatory process. So this is really, really critical for us to get that important information and have all the stakeholders understand what's happening. So I appreciate you bringing this bill. We have one question so far. Senator Higdon.
Just a comment, Madam Chair. Central West administrative regs is a interesting subject, and sometimes like watching grass grow or something of that nature. I don't know that much about it. I know that what you do is very important, and what you put in a bill you're recommending, I would be crazy not to support it. So
It's a simple little bill.
I get it. Usually simple has to be 10 pages or less. This was 30-some pages, but anyway, it almost simple.
Not very many black words in there, though.
But thank you for your work and the notice that you brought to administrative regs and the changes that you've made with administrative regs. It's very noticeable from where I see it, and thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Chambers Armstrong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I am here for the fun L&O committee. This sounds great. Glad to be here. Thank you, Senator. I just want to, and you might tell me you don't have an answer yet, but I was also wondering about the lack of a notice requirement. And I know you said that's something you're working through. Have you gotten so far as to think about whether notice is something, are you inclined to add it in? It's just sort of working out the details. Are you still thinking about it? Could you share just a little bit more about where you're at?
Yeah, on its face, and I've been talking with my assistant, Eric Clark, on this issue. We've been kind of going back and forth on it this morning. It sounds good. On its face, it sounds okay. Kind of our question is, should we do 3 days, 5 days? They requested 5 days. We run into state holidays. That becomes a question there. The only question for us is if there's a loophole we haven't thought about yet that we don't know about. So absent a loophole, I think we're more inclined to agree to it. One issue we are thinking about is if you request the 5 days notice, right now they can request a deferral right up to the day of the committee. And so if you request 5 days notice, are you allowed to have it both ways, right? Maybe we go the other way. If you want 5 days, then maybe that applies to a deferral request as well. You have to give us notice that you're doing a deferral request. So that's the only issue we're working out. This is going to be used very little, okay? This is rarely something we even talk about. It's 1 in 1,000 regulations that this applies to. So we do not need any more regulations in front of the committee. We already have a pretty significant docket. So it's just going to be once in a while that this is used. And so, but when we need it, it's important. You know, it's something that's been percolating out there. The constituents have a ton of questions on it, or it's something that's front page of the paper that needs to have review and transparency. So I know that's a long answer to a short question, but I'm inclined to go along with it as long as there's no loophole that we haven't thought of yet.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any more questions from committee members? Senator Berg.
I really appreciate you bringing this forward. I think we want our government to work together and work efficiently, and we want everybody to show up when they're supposed to be there and do their job. So I appreciate this tremendously. Can you explain to me, though, under these new rules, if they don't show up? Let's say we have administrative regs, they don't show up, what happens?
Sure. So from the aspect of, is this a power grab by the legislature? It's not. It can't be. We still have, at the end of the day, we have limited opportunities to respond. So we have, in my committee, We have the power to find a reg deficient. We have the power to ask for a deferral. We still have those powers, and those really that's kind of our baseline. What we're able to do. There's really, as far as the teeth goes, there isn't a ton of teeth in there, as far as, you know, a court case or anything of that nature. The main thing it does is it sets it down in statute that cabinet, you're on notice. This is your responsibility to do this. It was kind of unwritten before, and this just puts it on paper. But as far as teeth in the bill, there's not much of that other than deficiency and deferral. Our response legislatively, if we don't like something, is to file a bill. And we do that. We file a bill, and ultimately we started doing this a few years ago. We have Senate Bill 65, which finds all regulations that are null and void in our committee null and void. All regulations are deficient in our committee are null and void. That's what Senate Bill 65 does. So we could throw that regulation that's in question in Senate Bill 65, but that's not in this bill. It's not mandated in the bill or anything like that. So constitutionally, there's only so much we can do as far as teeth go. Yeah.
All right. Seeing no further questions, do I have a motion on Senate Bill 23? Do I have a second? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed signify by no. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Chambers Armstrong.
May I briefly explain my yes vote, Madam Chair?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. I'm going to vote yes. I'm looking forward to seeing the notice revisions. I think that will make it a much better bill, and I do have some concerns about that. But I was really comforted. It sounds like y'all are working in good faith to reach a good solution, and so I'm going to vote yes. Thank you.
Senator Berg.
I'm going to vote yes, thank you. I think this is important. I think we all need to show up and do our jobs to get anything to move forward. Again, I do have serious concern about the notification because, the one thing I worry about is people play. And you could put regulations on the agenda that morning, nobody knows about it, nobody shows up, nobody's there, and then what happens? So that's my one concern. I just want to make sure that we make it a level playing field for everybody. Thank you.
Senator Douglas.
I would explain my vote, Madam Chair.
Yes, please proceed.
Senator West, this is a really, really important bill. One of the things that I often hear from my constituents is how slow things are and how much they don't know about the bill. And I think what this does is this certainly does improve the transparency of the bill, and it also of regulations, but it also will give them an opportunity to understand all those things that maybe we do, but they don't have enough information on. So I really appreciate you bringing this bill. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Higdon. Senator Howe. Senator Mays Bledsoe. Senator McDaniel. Senator Meredith. Senator Nemes. Senator Nunn. Chair Rocky Adams.
Aye. All right, Senate Bill 23 passes with favorable expression, and we'll move to the Senate floor. And before we adjourn, I just want to say, wasn't this the most fun you all have had all day? All right. Without further ado, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, so moved. We are adjourned.
Thank you.